Melbourne virtuoso of the bass guitar, Toby Peterson-Stewart is best known for being one-third of progressive instrumental band The Omnific. Recently, Toby has been afforded time and space to work on some solo material, and singles D.H.D and Endless are now available for streaming. Thanks for tuning into the Heavy Podcast. I'm Ez, and this is my conversation with Toby Peterson-Stewart. Hello.
Hey Erin, how you going?
Good, thank you, Toby. Happy Friday evening. Have you got much on for the weekend?
No, I'm just recovering from a cold, so I'm planning to hopefully just get over that. I've been sick all week, so yeah.
That's totally fair. I'm going to preface this with my equipment's pretty good at not picking up background noise, but if you hear my dogs in the background, they're being insufferable assholes tonight. So, and there's no one else home to shut them up. So,
That's all good.
I want to kick off with a question that's going to get straight to the point. Who said it was okay for you to be this stupidly talented?
Um, I don't know. I just play bass. I don't know. I just hit record on my laptop, and that's all I do.
I've seen you perform a couple of times now, and yeah, to me, you are just one of those musicians that makes me and my friends want to walk out of the room, and as a musician as well, just go, what's the point? You are a very talented individual, but like, in all seriousness, can we talk a bit about your background? How old were you when you first picked up a bass, and what attracted you to the instrument?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for the overwhelmingly kind words. But playing bass, I've been playing bass for 14 years now, I think. So since I was about 12 or 11, and yeah, no one in my family is musical. I kind of just picked it up kind of out of accident, just to do it for like a year seven music course, and then I kind of just went off from there. So I was definitely tone deaf when I started, and it was like it gives me the core belief that I think if you really want to do the thing that you want to do, you can do it, even if you know nothing or have no, like,
Mm.
born talent with that. But yeah.
Yeah, that's actually really inspiring. Were you naturally attracted to bass over guitar or drums? I know like kids of that age tend to gravitate towards the I don't want to say bass isn't the cool instrument, but was it your choice, or was it someone saying, oh, no one's playing bass, Toby, why don't you play bass?
It was specifically for the year seven music program. Like you couldn't do guitar. It was
Yeah, right.
like bass was the cool one.
Yeah, cool.
It was actually considered the cool one at that point. But I realized that being a bass player kind of does suit my personality because I'm not the most extroverted person. I do like to, kind of sit in the back seat to some extent in some situations and stuff at points. So like it kind of suits me, I think, in the end, or otherwise or bass just evolved me into that kind of, feeling comfortable in that. But yeah, it was supposed to be cool. I think it's cool. But yeah, I understand. Yeah, that's how that happened though. Just because it was what I could only do at that point and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
stuck with it.
Well, I mean, and look how it's worked out for you. So that's pretty cool. What made you veer away from, say, a stock standard arrangement of a band to pursue projects like the Omnific and what you're doing with your solo stuff?
Yeah, nothing really like made me feel like I had to do something that was particularly like this is really different. I think when you're kind of starting with music, you are trying to like search for something to set you aside from other people, or you know, um, just get something that catches people's attention, and that definitely happened when Omnifix started, but it was more just that mutual kind of hanging out with Matt, the other bass player in Omnific, and we're just writing stuff that was kind of cool and different, and now it's just something that I don't know anything else but that to some extent. I still play with some bands with
Mm,
guitars and stuff, but this is why my solo music has also come out like that because I spent 7 years writing this very bass focused music, and it just makes sense for me to outlet, music in that way because it's just how I perceive it now when I'm composing. It's just comes out mostly on bass. I'm sure if I had a guitar here, it'd come out like that. I really want to get this is bass guitar, like it's a guitar bass. It's like a guitar that's tuned to bass octaves, and I really want one of those one day because it just makes sense to me. But
Mm.
yeah, nothing. It was just kind of, I don't know, it was just more hanging out and just kind of worked, and that's how that all happened. Yeah.
Did the two of you meet through playing bass and then it was just like, well, let's just jam and then it just became a bigger creature naturally? Or did you sit down together and go, let's create a project together and let's both play bass?
I think a bit of both of that. We were just kind of hanging out as bass friends, like kind of the first time, and then I think Matt sparked that idea of like, it'd be funny if we were in the same band because we had such mutual interests and kind of drive with music, especially at that point. I think Matt was like 18 and I was like 19, so we're very young, and it was kind of hard to find people that had that same kind of drive in this similar kind of music styles and tastes and stuff. So it was kind of like oh, if we were like other instruments, then it'd work really well in a band because we have this same drive and passion and and hunger for doing music as a career. And we both just played bass, and it was kind of like, well, this could be an interesting idea. And yeah, Matt kind of went forward and did that, and the first song and the first EP, and then we're like, yeah, I was just swinging with it, and then yeah, you're around it, and it just becomes part of you. Like again, the solo stuff just comes out like that because I've been in this for 7 years, and
Mm.
it's cool. It's cool. Yeah.
Like a natural evolution and then the rest is history.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
What were your main musical influences then when you were younger? You say you didn't come from like a musical family, so like what was it that sort of piqued your interest and what artists were you listening to?
Yeah, it's interesting because I was listening to this album the other day, but if I think about back when I started, it's probably quite obvious for maybe other people my age now back then, but I was listening to like a lot of Linkin Park, and the other day I listened to, and the other week, sorry, I listened to Minutes of Midnight, um, which has that song What I've Done on it and stuff, and I just used to love Linkin Park when I started, and it's just so funny how much that still resonates with me now, especially with the passing of Chester. It's such a different perspective from the album. It's crazy, honestly.
Mm.
That's a great album. It's written very, very well. But I haven't listened to it in 10 years. But that kind of way of writing music and kind of having that perspective over composition still resonates with me now. So I think it still sticks with me even if I haven't realized it. And from there, it went to some more metal stuff like Tesseract and more into that proggy kind of stuff with Periphery. That teenage gent kind of thing that happened back in 2011 or something. Yeah, and then you just kept growing with the new stuff. Like lately, it's a lot of like of the those bands that are really making waves like Spirit Box and Loathe and Sleep Token. Like those bands are all really cool. And again, I think there's subconscious nuances in their music that are so that relate to a lot of people because there are subtle things that have come from back in that time. I think like subtle influences from them that are not obvious, but it resonates with you in those kind of ways. Anyway, I analyze that stuff, so yeah, I find it interesting.
Yeah, no, that was a great answer. Much more in depth than I expected, actually. And you already answered the next question I was going to ask was, what's like getting you excited musically now? Which, yeah,
I knew you were going to, so that's why I answered it.
yeah. Are you psychic? You've like ticked off most of my favorite artists just in that last little bit too, so that's so cool. We've recently been treated to solo material by you. So we've got D.H.D, which came out, like about a month ago. And then you've just dropped a track titled Endless, and that's with Jacob Nemansky. I'll chat about collabing with him in a moment. But first, I'd like to ask you, like, what makes your solo stuff? I know you said that it has followed a natural progression similar to the Omnific, but what would you say the differences are in your solo material compared to what you do with Omnific?
Yeah, I think it all kind of kicked off when I was kind of trying to write music. Some stuff happened last year, and I just kind of had to take a break from some things in my life for a few months. And I naturally just started already without any real reason to gravitating towards music and gravitating towards writing music. And there was definitely at that point in my life, there was definitely no expectation on anything needing to be, released or, be in the industry or, there's not like this thing of like, oh, I need to write this kind of music so it can chase this kind of, market in the industry or so you can get to this next level. It was just like there's no expectation on it, and what was coming out of me was just a really nice experience, really, in terms of being able to do that with no expectation, and it just felt
Mm,
a lot like me, and I think that's really nice for me to just have that spot to be able to do that without any expectation. And because whatever I release could be anything. Like the next thing I release could, it could not have bass. It could have anything, and no one's there to tell me otherwise. It could be something just completely different, and it's just nice to be able to have that. And
mm,
because it's just, I don't know, it just in that point last year, I just realized how important that was for me as a person, just to create for no real reason, but just to express emotion. And I think it's the most authentic in that way because it's authentic to you. Like you're not trying to write something to be sick. You're not really trying to do anything. You're just doing it because that's what you know, and it's
mm.
just so interesting like that. So I think that's how it sets it apart. I don't know if you can hear that through the music, but that's how it is for me. Yeah.
I think that if you're not creating just because you have the innate drive to, then people pick up on that anyway if it's not authentic. I think that's amazing that you could step back and just enjoy the process again with no expectations on yourself. And it sort of does lead me to another question I was going to ask, which is, yeah, where do you draw inspiration from when you do write? Because, it's instrumental music for a start off. So there's no words to make it very obvious. So you're using your bass to do the singing, so to speak. So tell me a bit about what sort of rabbit holes you delve down when you're writing.
Hard to say. It's usually a chord progression or like it could be a technique idea that evokes some sort of inspiration in me or some sort of emotion in me that I kind of want to see where that goes. Or sometimes it could be, you've got nothing, but you just want to hit record and see what happens. And something cool
Mm,
comes out for whatever reason, and sometimes nothing comes out. But usually, it when you're writing music only has bass, you've got to use the bass, I think, to its fullest extent, so you can have the engagement. Not for like other people, but for yourself. So you listen to it and it feels engaging as a bass line. And that naturally just is accommodated by lots of different techniques, so you can kind of get that dynamic and engagement from in that riff or in that section. So naturally, the parts get more complicated as you want to make it feel more engaging for yourself. Um, that's kind of how I've been writing it. It's like I'll get something that I'm constantly excited by every time I listen to it. Is kind of how I feel about my music, and sometimes that can take a while, but sometimes it does hit from the start. But yeah, I think it gets complicated when you start wanting to, always have it hit you, which is cool. Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question exactly, but yeah.
no, no, you definitely did. So what was it like collabing then with Jacob? And yeah, how did that come about?
Yeah, well, I think I don't know if I mentioned it already, but as I started doing more of this solo music and I started just reaching out to a few people to kind of have musical conversations with people, which I think is great because you can have I love having conversations with, like-minded people or people that you can learn stuff from. And you can do the same thing with music, like literally, like if you're writing music, they're going to bring in different concepts and different perceptions of what that song is supposed to be like. And it's just so cool because it's like, again, it's like having a conversation with someone. So since I've started doing this solo stuff, it's literally just me and someone else in most of the situations, unless it's just me. But especially with this collab with Jacob, is like, we did chat about it, but as I sent him a few ideas, he came back with a few more ideas and added a completely different throw on the song that I couldn't have anticipated. And so it just,
Mm.
and for both of us, it just turned out to be something that we couldn't create on our own. And so it's really cool and unique in that sense to create something that you couldn't have done, by yourself with me in this room.
Mm.
It's just a cool thing, really, because when I listen back to it, I'm like, yeah, it's like it's not entirely me. It's got Jacob in there too, and but it feels really great. And we definitely got to a place where we were both really happy with it as well. From doing that, really, from pushing each other in those in our own perspectives of what the song should be like. Just kept pushing each other until we're both happy.
Yeah, that's really cool. And how cool is it that we live in a time where technology allows us to have that back and forth with artists that, you may or may not have had the opportunity to really connect with, say even 15, 20 years ago.
Oh, absolutely.
And you don't have to be in the same room as each other, which is even more of a trip, really.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. Like I actually met Jacob. We was officially met him. We're already friends online, but we toured together in Europe 3 years ago now. So we had a connection there. But we've always kept in touch. We've always said we're going to write a song together at some point, or do something together at some point. It turned out to be this
Yeah.
song. But yeah, being able to record in Pro Tools and then send him all the stuff, and then he records his stuff in Pro Tools and do it like that is very, very modern. Very lucky to
Mm.
be able to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Because neither of you have to interrupt a schedule, so to speak. I think I saw that you commented on your own YouTube video that it was sort of a long time coming, that you've been wanting to tee up something with Jacob for a while.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think we just again we have like similar to me, Matt. Me and Jacob have similar kind of enjoyments in music, and we keep in touch. So we did do an Instagram video a little while back, and then that sparked like, we should do something like bigger than that. And yeah, it
Mm,
turned out to
yeah.
be this. Yeah.
And the video you've obviously filmed in two different locations as well. How did that feel, like putting that together? Did you guys like really storyboard that out, or was it just like you do your bit, I'll do my bit, and we'll see what edits together?
So luckily, I have a very great friend, Mickey, and he does a lot of Omnific videos in the past, and still does. And he did this video, and he's just incredible videographer. And he did kind of give very, very specific directions to Jacob and his videographer, like the um
Yes.
the guy that he gave. I was like, well, that's like so extra, but it's like so specific, which is really great. So you kind of get the concept across because the kind of shots that he did was very, very specific in like the lenses and stuff. So yeah, I'm very lucky to have Mickey who kind of sorted that out. But initially it was just like I'm going to shoot in this kind of location. You find something like that in New York, which we both thought was going to be pretty easy because it's New York. There's going to be abandoned buildings somewhere, but it turns out it was pretty hard for him to actually find something that was quite similar. But he got
Mm.
something in the end there.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I thought, because the video is very cohesive. So I was interested to hear sort of how that came together. I mean, you've collaborated with Jacob, obviously. You've also collaborated with an impressive list of artists, but who would be on your bucket list? Like, what's the ultimate
Mm.
dream collab for you?
I think I was thinking about this the other week. I think doing something with the bassist Victor Wooten would be pretty amazing because he was definitely like the first guy that I was watching when you could kind of see what you could do on a bass. If you don't know Victor Wooten, he definitely was one of like the first guys doing like the double thumping thing, which then Tosin Abasi from Animal Leaders then adapted to guitar and everything. But Victor Wooten does some incredible bass orientated compositions and is an incredible bass player and
Mm.
does some really wacky sounds on it. And yeah, cool guy. So um, cool guy on life. Like his philosophy on life is also very cool. So again, musical conversations with cool people is what I'm about.
Yeah, yeah. And are you allowed to have a favorite person that you have collaborated with, or are you gonna be PC and
No, yeah, I don't think so. Like, I genuinely don't think so. Like, doing this song with Jacob was really great, and it's when Omnific works together, sometimes it's absolutely amazing. Like, so I can't really compare the two. So it's like hard to
Mm,
say.
yeah, I guess you get something from everyone you work with, really.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely how I operate. I don't pick favorites,
Yeah,
or maybe I
fair.
do and I don't know about it.
So, like I said earlier, I know you let your bass do the singing basically, and I think you are exceptionally good at expressing emotion through your instrument. But have you ever had anyone sing over your music before?
Yeah, so actually, the second song I ever put out for my solo material is it does have vocals. It's called Fine Lines, and it's a song I wrote 5 years ago, and I did actually write it on guitar. And during this period last year, where I had a few months of kind of doing stuff without any point, I was like, I really want to adapt this to bass, and I really want to recreate the song again. And my friend from uni sang on
Hmm.
it back 5 years ago, and we kept the same vocal stems, and I just kind of got it mixed all again. But yeah. I worked with him, and that's a lot of fun. It's definitely different about how much space you should leave for vocals compared to instrumental music. Again, like
Mm.
if it's instrumental, you kind of got to feel that engagement aspect, and then fill it with more melodies in the bass. But yeah, yeah, I probably would do some more vocal collaborations in the future with my solo stuff. It just kind of just fade about when that would or would not happen. Who that might be.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you have anyone in mind that you would like to hear sing over your music?
No, not particularly. I think it really depend on, like, probably similarly to how me and Jacob came together. Have a talk and say what,
Yes.
if someone wants to do it, like, okay, what do we want to create? Like, how do we want to approach this? And I think that's the best way because you can get something completely unique to that situation, um,
Mm.
rather than like a premeditated kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So what's on the immediate horizon for you then? Have you got shows lined up, tours, more releases?
Yeah, so my solo stuff, I'm not going to be playing shows really anywhere in the immediate future. It's just kind of again to have that outlet, just to have some fun and express myself in that way. But I'll be releasing the last song of my EP, Break a Leg, on May 9th. May 19th. So it's gonna be my three-track EP. That's just kind of like that's a little bookend for these few songs here. And there's a few more flying around, but I just kind of have to sift through them and see how it comes out. And Omnific will be going overseas in a few weeks to Europe to play tour for a month with Nebula Viscaris and Persephone. So that'll be me for the next few months. I think the EP comes out while I'm over there. I have no idea where I'm going to be, but I'll be over there somewhere. So I have to line up my time zone somehow for when it actually comes out. But
That must be a cool feeling though, like just
yeah.
you'll be adventuring somewhere. So whereabouts are you touring, did you say?
So it'll just be people ask me this all the time, but it'll be in Europe. So we're going to start in London and then kind of go to Germany and Austria, and I don't know how many shows, but we'll be over there for pretty much exactly a month. So yeah, lots of fun.
Yeah, cool. Do you have a day job or do you dedicate yourself entirely to music?
I still have a day job.
How do you juggle that though with because the Omnific's pretty busy as well. I see you guys popping up shows all over the place. So, do you find it a struggle to sort of to find a balance?
It can be. I think as you get older, with probably anything that kind of, if you're not doing a 9 to 5 kind of thing, anything that's outside of that has to be something that you really enjoy, because if it's not, then it does start to become a drag. So focusing
Mm,
on the good things and the fun things that you enjoy from, like for me, from the band or from my own music is makes it a lot easier to balance that around my work. So yeah, it's I think that's the best method, because otherwise it does get a little bit heavy if you're getting bogged down by other things, and you're trying to also do your day job and do these things that are all of a sudden not becoming as fun. So if you focus on the fun of things, it's just easier and
yeah,
better for your
yeah,
mental
yeah.
health.
Hell yeah, yeah. Has all your talent pulled into music, or do you have like hidden talents outside of music? Do you have any other hobbies?
Not particularly. Mario Party is always great, but that's not really a hobby. Um, yeah, I'm one of those people that's like, "Do you have a hobby?" And I'm like, "Music." It's like, well, what do you do for fun? Well, music.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of me. I like to sometimes not listen to music. Sometimes I need to not listen to music and go for a walk and just
Mm.
sit with whatever the thing is I'm feeling, honestly. But yeah, nothing too crazy at the moment about. I don't go, surfing or I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, fair. Where do you find inspiration strikes you? Like when you said sometimes you take time out and don't listen to music. I do similar things, and then I find that when I do that, that's when I'll start to get ideas flooding in as well. But
Yeah.
I'm like one of those like inspiration always strikes in the shower type person where it's like I don't have a pen and paper on me or anything that I can grab to like
Yeah. I think that's,
seal that moment in
yeah,
either.
I don't think I've had the shower thing that often because I've heard about that a lot. And I'm like, I reckon that's happened a couple of times where I'm like in the shower, I'm like, crap, okay, I need to get out and do this. It's only happened a couple of times in my life, but it does usually happen in the place where you're probably most, or for me, the furthest away from this room or something. I'm like, or furthest away from the equipment to do that. And you're like, damn, well, now's the idea. It used to
Mm.
happen at work a lot, and they would actually voice memo little ideas. And a couple of those did turn out because sometimes it can just be come from anywhere.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, the workplace is a bad one for me too. And then you have to look like a weirdo when you get your voice memo thing out and just hide around a corner somewhere so no one sees you.
yeah, yeah, basically, yeah.
So my 15-year-old stepson Jaden is an avid bassist and an absolutely diehard fan of yours. So he wanted me to ask you what advice you would give young musicians who were in the beginning stages of learning their instrument and what guidance you'd give a kid like him who maybe wants to go pro.
Yeah, I think when you're starting out, if you're learning specifically bass or really any instrument, but for me as a bass player, learning as a bass player is definitely rhythm is incredibly important, as well as getting the opportunity to songwrite. But as you're doing that, it's kind of a lot because when you're young, you're learning. I think it's great to learn a lot of things, and it's hard to songwrite without having learnt songs. So you're either learning theory or you're having music lessons. Or I learned a lot of my compositional kind of foundations just from learning lots and lots and lots of songs, and things just start connecting. So rhythm's incredibly important,
Mm.
like practicing to a metronome and just songwriting, because I think for me at least that's just what I do and that's just what I've always done. But some people don't like to songwrite, and that's fine too. But yeah, that, and also just do the things that are really fun and
Mm.
be surrounded by great people that are really good, and be a good person, because if you're not a good person, then the good people are just not going to be around as much, because it happens, and you definitely see it as you get older that the people that have just purposely, trying to get something out of you, and they start, just one, it's not a nice feeling, but yeah, just be a good person and good things will happen probably.
That's very wholesome advice, actually. And yes, the music industry has some amazing people in it, but it's got some snakes as well. So I suppose any industry does really, but
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, no, there's some incredible people, yeah, for sure, and those are the good ones. Those are the ones to aspire to be.
Especially the heavy scene, I think, is quite supportive of one another and relatively
Mm.
wholesome as a whole.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's a nice community to be part of for sure.
oh absolutely, yeah, like 95% is great, right? Yeah, just don't be the
Yeah.
5%.
That's it. Don't be the asshole. Thank you so much for your time tonight, Toby. We have another release on the horizon. Did you say May 19th? What was that one called again?
Yeah, no problem. So that'll be my 3-track EP on May 19th. It's going to be called Break a Leg, because I released an Instagram video once called Break a Leg, and that's what the song ended up being called, and that's what the EP was ended up being called. Anyway, it's my solo stuff. I can do whatever I want, so that's what it's called, and that's what's next.
I was going to say you didn't like literally break a leg, I hope.
No, no, no.
Good. Alrighty, well, I'll let you get back to your Friday night and your head cold recovery.
Yeah, no worries, Erin. Thank you. I appreciate your time as well.